Hi, I'm Dan Pembleton, president of Excellent Capital Management, Inc., and I'm here today with Mark Taucar, lead manager of Excellent Select Discretionary Management. And I just want to start right in, Mark. You wrote an interesting piece about the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And I'd just like to see if you could expand a bit on your thoughts in that and maybe see what threads we can pull on that.
Right. Well, thank you very much for having me. The piece itself was predicated on preempting the anxiety that investors may have about the markets and giving them some historical context on what typically tends to happen when we have a geopolitical conflict, war, or other sorts of geopolitical events. And what we did is we went back about 80 years in history to plot out certain events and their effects on the market. And it was really to share our expectations of what might happen going forward on the equity markets, on the fixed income markets, and to give folks some reassurance that we've kind of covered the bases in terms of the construction of portfolio and management of strategies that we've got going at this time.
Okay, so what do you think? I mean, nobody has a crystal ball, but what do you see impacts from this action, in equity markets currently? How long do you think these kinds of effects could last? What themes might you see coming out of this?
Compounding the issues, I think, is how the economy globally has led up to this conflict. I think to a certain extent, Putin, the Russian Federation, have played their way into this over a period of time, perhaps decades, planning to move their influence into the former Soviet bloc. And so, none of this was really a surprise, I would say, certainly after 2014. I think it's interesting that the timing that this has occurred, when this has occurred, has really kind of played into the advantage of the Russian Federation, at least up until the point of, the lack of strategy that went into invading Ukraine. But the fact of the matter, we had oil prices up, which benefits the Russian Federation. 1/3 of their economy is an energy-based economy. I believe 11% of global energy output is through energy and natural gas. And their influence in Europe as well, I think, is what really emboldened them to take this step with elevated oil prices and take advantage of the fact that we had governments around the world enact myopic green policy and to the detriment of their energy security. And so we had, the European Union really focus on instituting green policy. But the fact of the matter is that the capacity to generate that amount of energy that they required, in combination with rolling out all of these initiatives, has actually caused part of the elevation in oil prices. And so, I think what ended up happening here is Putin looked at the situation, looked at his strength, thought that, like in the past, he essentially took some risk in taking over some of these smaller countries like Belarusia, and did the same thing with Ukraine in terms of thinking that, we'll show our force, we'll see if we'll have some capitulation by Ukrainians to say, okay, we give up, and then advance in. I think his miscalculation here was that he kind of played the fool's checkmate in chess, a two-move checkmate with Ukraine, And then we all know that if you don't win that game in 2 moves, you've kind of overextended yourself. And I think that's what's happening here in Ukraine. With his advancement into Ukraine, the resistance that he's seeing, I don't think he really strategized well enough to do what he wanted to do. And unfortunately, because of that, he's now put himself in a position that he's going to have to exert enormous amount of military force to achieve his objective. Now, economically, the knock-on effect of that is that oil, the premium price for oil has gone through the roof. It's a war premium price on oil. Sanctions have been enacted, which unfortunately, for the most part, when we take a look at historical application of sanctions, they tend to hurt the people more than the people in power. Although, with some of the sanctions that we've seen, especially at the central bank level, freezing assets around the world, there does seem to be a cohesive strategy with all countries around Europe, North America, to freeze assets and exert control through oligarchs. But the problem has then been to elevate the price of oil even higher.